I promise it's just the shoes that are coming off today. I like to, oh thanks. I like to start off by completely embarrassing myself because then we can only go up. So yep, this is me. This is my backside. This is me about a year and a half ago at a life drawing class. So round me there were about 22 artists, and I sat there for 2.5 hours. And by the end of the day, there were something like 230 sketches of me, and I hated every single one of them. But when I say that this is me, this very much is me. This is me that's standing in front of you today. But that hasn't always been me. This was me in 2011. And the reason that I know that this was 2011, it's very specific, is because it's one of the only photos of me for about maybe a decade, maybe more than that, because I wouldn't let anybody near me with a camera at this point. And you'll probably notice that that was taken very sneakily by this man sitting here. If I'd known that it was being taken, it wouldn't have been taken at all. The other reason that I know that this was 2011 is because this is my 30th birthday. So this isn't the pre-party. This isn't the getting ready for the big event. This is my birthday. Because at that point in my life, this is pretty much all that I could do. So sitting in a room reading a book was my life. I'd got to the point that I could barely leave the house. I couldn't answer the phone. I couldn't answer the door to the postman. I couldn't eat in public. I couldn't visit friends. And I'd started to cut family out of my life. And it wasn't just that I was an ignorant so-and-so. I'd got to this point not overnight. I got to this point over a long span of time. So this was me as a youngster. And I love this photo because it kind of sums up what I was like as a kid. I was always hiding behind things and letting other people do the heavy lifting for me. I was a shy kid. I was timid. I was unable to speak to people. My sister, my older sister, used to speak for me. And I wouldn't join clubs. I wouldn't go to parties, anything like that. And when you're 5 and you're blonde and blue-eyed and kind of cute, that's fine. People think it's adorable that you are hiding behind your mum's legs. When you're 16 and you're no longer blonde or cute, and you can't talk to people, you haven't built the skills to be able to communicate, you can't really have friends because you don't really know what to do, it's not cute anymore. And it starts to become a real problem. So I didn't really realise for a long time, but I was suffering chronic social anxiety. I guess you probably all know what social anxiety is. It's been mentioned a few times today. And we all have a bit of that. You know, we're a social being. We like to be in the club where we don't like to be judged by others. We kind of do what other people do because it's easy and because it makes us feel better. And that's fine, but when it starts to affect your entire life and you start to stop doing things that other people can do because you're a stressed person and you're not going to exacerbate the stress, you're not going to make it worse, so you just cut that bit out. So I cut out pretty much everything until the person that you saw in that photo was pretty much my life. So this is a very abridged list, very, very abridged list of things that scared me. And I've conquered a few of these just today coming here. Susie kindly booked a hotel across the water, so I had to walk over a bridge to get here. Thank you for that. But there are... You eagle-eyed among you will notice that people are on there twice. And that's basically because that's what social anxiety is. Complete, terrified fear of people. And I don't mean that I thought that someone was going to jump out of every cupboard with an axe or, I never feared for my life, not really. I feared what you thought of me. I feared how you would judge me, what you would think if I'd done something wrong, or if I didn't quite get the mood of the room and I didn't know what to say and I said something that was out of place. Oh my God, what would you think of me? So that meant that every tiny little event, every tiny change in my life was met with this big, huge 3-week, 4-week planning beforehand, and then you had the event itself, and then you had the aftermath where I thought for 2 weeks after that, do I need to phone anybody and apologise? Do I need to send a card to say that I shouldn't have said that? And this was for just going to visit a friend for dinner. Everything was exhausting. And trust me, I had tried pretty much everything that someone else could do for me. I had been to counselling. I'd been on medication since I was about 11 because I started getting loads of twitches, and you'll notice that I still blink a lot, and I'm quite a jittery, jangly person. Quite like it now. But I was like that since I was about 11 or 12, and nobody really knew what was going on. So I was on medication from a very early age. I tried all sorts of therapy, aqua therapy, hypnotherapy. I'd have done an exorcism if someone had said that it would have worked. But it got to the point that I was 30 and there was nothing else that anybody could try for me. The psychology department said, sorry, that's it, you've done it all. We can either start back at the start or you can just leave. And when you're at that point and you know the next stage is you're going into hospital and you're not coming back out, or you're going to do yourself some real damage. Then I decided that I was going to, if there was going to be a decision made, it was going to come from me. I was going to be the one that decided what happened next. So this is what I did. I became Paula Must Try Harder, as a nod to all my PE teachers who that's all they wrote on my PE report card was Paula Must Try Harder. I became Paula Must Try Harder, and we set up a blog, and I announced that I was going to try loads of ridiculous things to kind of shock myself out of the anxiety. It sounds stupid. It feels stupid to say it, but it kind of worked. So the first thing that I decided I was going to try was the 17 Commonwealth Sports. Does everybody remember Glasgow 2014? Yeah. I live in Glasgow. I live a stone's throw from many of the venues. And I remember sitting on the couch with Jerry saying, you know, they're saying there's a sport for everyone. Everyone should get involved. There's no sport for me. I had got to this point in my life without ever having tried a sport. Has anybody ever not tried a sport? You can all maybe cycle or you've ran in your life or a bus. I'd never done any of them. Absolutely none. And I feel really awful if that marathon man's still here saying that. Sorry. But I had never tried a sport. I had got through PE by just lying and throwing my PE kit in a hedge on the way down and having headaches. And I'd never tried one. And I said, wouldn't it be funny if someone who's completely awful at sport tried the sports and showed them that there is not a sport for everyone? And it became really clear that I was the only one that could try this because everyone else had tried the sport. So I thought, right, let's do this. And I announced it. And to Jerry's credit, he didn't say, you're never going to do that. He said, fine, but you're going to hold yourself to account. And we're going to set up this blog and you're going to tell everyone about it. And I did. I'm not going to take you through all the sports because, trust me, that would change your life in a whole different way, me talking about 17 sports. I'll take you through some of the sports that meant something to me. So cycling, who can cycle? Yeah, and I bet you all learned as kids. That's when I should have learned. Learning as a 30-year-old is very different from learning as a 5-year-old. I have since watched my 7-year-old nephew learn to cycle in about 3 hours with one bruise. This took me 3 months, no joke. I thought, I'll try cycling. It's really easy. I've seen everybody do it. I don't need to talk to people. I'll just get a bike. I'll go out the back. Fine, sorted. Turns out you can't do that when you're 30. You're too frightened of falling. So I had to go to a cycling centre, and I sat outside the cycling centre for 3 weeks every single night, terrified to go in. And I would come home and I would lie, and I would say, oh, it was closed. Oh, I felt sick. Oh, something happened. And eventually I was taken by the hand into the cycling centre, and of course they didn't laugh at me. Of course they've had adults learning to cycle before. And they said, fine. And they persevered with that idea up there for months. They took the pedals off, everything, every kind of strategy. Eventually, after months of persevering, and I did persevere, I can ride a bike. And I still cycle into fences and hedges and into water, and I don't care, because it's the first thing that I had ever done that I did not know the result of. Judo, I don't know if any of you follow Judo, but I am wearing the pyjamas. I always say pyjamas because I don't know what they're called. But, that lovely suit of Gemma Gibbons, who's the silver medalist, and her husband, Ewan Burton, was teaching me to do judo. And it was one of the first times that anyone involved in sport in particular, I thought sports people were all the bullies that I grew up with in school that shouted at me. It was the first time that anyone had really invested time in me in that way. He was at the top of his game. He was training for the Commonwealth Games. He went on to win gold. And he gave me an afternoon of his time to teach some fool that was trying to get herself out of a bad situation. He taught me to do some judo, and that was totally a pratfall for the photo. She did not fall over there, but it was kind of her. I only show this photo because there's no story. It's just because I look really graceful. And it's the first time I've ever looked graceful in my life. I learned to do gymnastics with the circus, but they had to teach me to do a forward roll first because I'd never learned. So the reason I look graceful is because this guy's good at his job. So I've showed you lots of really happy photos, me smiling and doing lots of great things, but it wasn't 2 years of chuckles. It was 2 years of me looking like that every single morning, of me crying because I did not want to go onto another hockey pitch in the snow, because I did not want to get my running shoes out the cupboard, because I couldn't face the world today. But I put that photo on the blog, and it was the first time that I had admitted that I was suffering. Everybody up to that point thought that I was just doing these sports because it was a laugh, because I was just trying to prove a point, because I was just trying to make things look silly. And I put that up and I said, I'm really struggling. I have chronic depression. I have social anxiety. I have general anxiety disorder. I take panic attacks pretty much every day. And the reaction that photo got kept me going for 2 years. The reaction that photo got was bigger than anything that I imagined, because people got in touch to say, me too. And that's the only reaction that I have ever had when I have spoken about my mental health, is either, how can I help you, or me too, and yet we still don't talk about it. I put that photo up and I got emails from people who weren't suffering with mental health problems, but who said, you have made it all right to be rubbish again. You have made it all right to go out and just try something because I want to, not because I'm going to be good at it. I'm just going to go out and I'm going to try it and I'm going to see how it goes, because if you can do it and you are totally rubbish, and I'm fine with that, then I can do it as well. So, of course, I finished the 17 sports. I wouldn't be standing here if I didn't. And this was the triathlon, wearing more lycra than anyone should ever have to wear. And I was soaked through because I'd just got out of the pool. And I crossed that finish line and somebody gave me a medal and somebody said to me, you're a triathlete. And I still wear that medal some days when I feel like I can't answer the door to the postman. And I think, you're a triathlete. You couldn't swim at the point that you did that triathlon. I went into that pool with a bright pink float like a child, and I swam those 16 lengths alongside the world champion who was powering it. And I was just there kicking with my wee float. And I got out and I got on my bike and I fell off about 5 times on the way round. And I got back up and I stumbled that 5 kilometres to that finish line. And unlike Ben, the world media were not there to welcome me over that finish line. But who was there was my dad. And my dad was crying like a child. And the reason that he was crying wasn't because it was the first finish line that he had ever seen me cross, and the last, I have to say. Of course it was because of that, but it was more because it was he had not thought that he would see me outside the house again. He thought that was my life was what he saw every day of me suffering and struggling, and he would have to come and visit me. And he never thought that he would see that. And he cried, and I cried, and I'm going to cry again if I don't change this slide. So there were best bits, of course there were. I met film stars and got to carry the baton and went shooting with comedians and managed not to kill anybody. But the real best bit was that. And it's not because the Scotland men's rugby 7 squad are holding my ass, although that is a very good bit. It's because I was a completely different person by the end. I was this person with this new perspective, with this fire inside me, like Pete was talking about, with just inspired to just keep going and keep doing and keep being and keep helping others to be. But what do you do once you've done that? Should I just say, right, that's me, done the sports, going back to life? Well, I tried. I tried for 2 weeks to go back to life. But I didn't know what life was. Was it back to the room, back to sitting on my own? So I kind of just kept the adventure going. And Pete spoke earlier about what did you want to do when you were a kid. Well, at this time, I was talking to loads of kids. I was in schools talking to kids about sports. And they were telling me what they wanted to do as a kid. And I remembered that when I was wee, I wanted to be a writer. And I had never stopped wanting to be a writer. I just stopped believing it was possible. So I decided that I was going to try all the jobs that kids want when they grow up. And I was going to see if it was possible. And I was going to show kids that the only thing that stops them is that they stop believing. So I became a race car driver. And you'll see the trophy on the top. We won. That was my first rally. And yeah, we came first. More down to that guy. I was just a nav. But I got him lost on the way to the start line. So that shows you how good I was. I was a police officer for 2 days. I went and I joined the trainees, the cadets, for 2 days and got to do drug busts and car searches. I was an astronaut. I was an astronaut for a day with the UK Space Agency. I went down to London and they put me on their centrifuge machine and they put this spacesuit has actually been in space. I haven't, I have to say. I'm still holding out for that, Richard Branson. I was an astronaut for a day. I was an adventurer. I am an adventurer, so I do silly things every week. And I was a pilot. These guys are X-rayed arrows. So this was me flying a loop. And I flew 2 loops, and then we did barrel rolls, and then we flew straight into the air and cut the engine and fell back out. And I'm not telling you this stuff because I'm being boastful. I'm not telling you this stuff because it's like, wow, look what I did. I'm telling you this stuff because if I can do that with all of that crap behind me, with everything that I was dealing with, imagine what you guys can do every single day. The eagle-eyed among you will notice that there are no weights on that bar because I fell over when they put weights on it. I'm so sorry to every Star Wars fan in the room for completely mangling this quote. I love Yoda. He is a hero of people of my stature. But I think he got it wrong on this one. The original quote, if you don't know it, is do or do not. There is no try. And I think that's kind of what's wrong with our attitudes these days. Doing is, of course, vital. If you don't do anything, nothing gets done. But what's that old quote about if you only do what you've always done, then you'll only get what you've always got? I think that's right. The difference is in the trying. The trying is where you learn. The trying is where you grow. The trying is where you develop. Trying something new and failing at it spectacularly is better than doing the same things over and over and over again. Take that, Yoda. For a long time, my nerves, my anxiety, were the worst thing that could happen to me. I tried to hide them. I hated them. They made me feel awful. They stopped me from living life. And worse than that, they stopped me from connecting with people. Nowadays, I absolutely love my nerves. It sounds so stupid because they terrorised me for such a long time. But they're also the reason that I am standing right here. They presented me with this huge, horrible, ugly, difficult barrier. And I am so proud of the person that I am now for clambering over that. And it was a difficult clamber. I'm not the best climber. I think taking control of your flaws, turning them into something that is of use to you, something that you like about yourself, it takes away their power over you. If you use them, then they can't use you. I love that photo. For a long time, I suffered in the same way that quite a lot of people suffer, is that I would only do things that I knew that I could succeed in. I would only do things that I knew that I would be good at. So that meant that I went to uni, and like Ben, I opened a prospectus and went accounting, that'll do me, and went to uni, and I knew that that would be fine because I was a good student. I was quite academic, I was bookish, I could do exams, that was fine. But ask me to do a new sport, ask me to do a new activity, and there was no way I would do it. Because for me, those were opportunities to fail. Those were opportunities for the people around to judge me. And I wanted to be good at things. We all want to be good at things. So was it not better just not to bother trying? Nowadays, I try new things pretty much every day. This is my new thing for today. It means that I am the worst in the room pretty much every day at something. If I am on the field with a professional rugby team, they're going to be better than me. They're professionals. If I'm in a ring with cage fighters, which I was a couple of months back, they're going to beat the crap out of me because they've been doing it for a long time. But it's so, so good for me. Because instead of seeing those as opportunities to fail or opportunities for people to judge me, I see those as opportunities for learning. Every single person on that field, every single person in that ring knows something that I don't know. And I will be damned if I don't learn from every single one of them. Trying to be the best all the time is not healthy. We need to stop trying to be the best and start embracing those times when we are the worst, because those are the times when you will learn most. Look at me looking all proud of my 1 marathon medal, and there's a 401 marathon man in the room. It took me a long time, it took me 30 years to realise this lesson, but when I did realise it, it was the making of me. It was the thing that changed my life. I think how many of us are waiting? How many of us are waiting to be fitter before we start running? How many of us are waiting for our job to be less stressful before we go for a promotion? For me, I was always waiting to be well before my life could start. Once I'm less anxious, that's when I'll start doing stuff. If I had kept waiting, I would still be that person in that photo from the start on my 36th birthday, on my 80th birthday, and my life would not have started. Instead, I got up, I got out, and I started it anyway. There is no right time to start something. There's only this time. So go out and start, but don't do it now or Susie will kill me. Thank you for listening. Hugs are available in the foyer afterwards.